This is Mr. P, and today we're doing Chapter 3, Lesson 4. This is 7th grade math. We are multiplying integers today. Our real-world link is as follows. Once a parachute is deployed, a skydiver descends at a rate of about 5 meters per second. Where will the skydiver be in relation to where the parachute is deployed after 4 seconds? Descending is usually represented by a negative integer. What integer should we use to represent the position of the skydiver in relation to the parachute's deployment after 1 second? And then complete the graphic below. What is the skydiver's position after 2, 3, and 4 seconds? So going back to the question, the parachute is deployed. Once the parachute is deployed, the skydiver descends at a rate of about 5 meters per second. Where will the skydiver be in relation to where the parachute deployed after 4 seconds? So again, skydiver jumps out, and every 1 second he has gone 5 meters. So if the parachute is deployed and then we're checking it 4 seconds later, where would he be? Every second is 5 more. So this would be 5 times 4, or he'd be at negative 20 meters. So as shown here, after 1 second, he's at negative 5 meters. After 2 seconds, he's at negative 10. After 3, negative 15. And then after 4, negative 20. Write a multiplication sentence to represent the skydiver's position after 5 seconds. This would be negative 5, because he's falling 5 meters every second, times the 5 seconds. Negative 5 times 5 would equal negative 25. Multiply integers with different signs. So the product of two integers with different signs is negative. So anytime you multiply a positive and a negative, it's going to be a negative. And it doesn't matter which one comes first. The positive times negative or negative times positive, the answer is always going to be negative. Now, when you multiply a negative by a negative, the answer will always be positive. So let's go ahead and chart this. So when you have a positive times a negative, the answer will always be negative. When you have a positive times a positive, the answer will always be positive. And when you have a negative multiplied by a negative, the answer will always be positive. The two negatives cancel each other out. It's the same kind of idea with the subtracting a negative. These two lines will converge together to make an addition symbol. So again, quick recap. Positive multiplied by a negative will equal a negative. Same thing goes for the inverse. If it's negative times a positive, it's still going to be negative. Positive multiplied by a positive equals a positive, and a negative multiplied by a negative will equal a negative. So the example they give here is 6 times negative 4. Same thing as 6 times 4, which will be 24, but we slap the negative symbol because one's positive and one is negative. Over here, negative 5 times 7. 5 times 7 is 35. Add the negative symbol because one was negative and one was positive. Remember that multiplication is the same as repeated addition. It's the same thing as saying 4 times negative 3. It's negative 3 plus negative 3 plus negative 3 plus negative 3 again. Negative 3 plus negative 3 would be negative 6, plus negative 3 again would be negative 9, plus 3 again would be negative 12, as illustrated down below. We started at 4 times negative 3. So here is a negative 3, a negative 3, a negative 3, and a negative 3. That would give us negative 12. The commutative property of multiplication states that you can multiply in any order. So 4 times negative 3 is the same thing as saying negative 3 times 4. Remember, commutative property is relevant to addition and multiplication, where the order of which you do either one does not matter. Division and subtraction, the order does matter. So find 3 times negative 5. One's a positive, one's a negative, so our answer is automatically going to be negative. 3 times 5 is 15, so our answer is negative 15. Negative 6 times 8, we would just do 6 times 8 as normal, which would be 48, but because one was positive and one was negative, our answer is going to be negative, so it'll be negative 48. We have 9 times negative 2. Our answer is going to be negative since one is positive and one is negative. 9 times 2 is 18, so our answer is going to be negative 18, if it will let me write. And then with example B, it's negative 7 times 4. We keep the negative symbol. Our answer is going to be negative, and 7 times 4 is 28, so it'll be negative 28. The product of two integers with the same sign is positive, and we went over this earlier, but again, if both are positive, the answer is positive. If both are negative, the answer is going to be positive. Let me rephrase that. If two numbers are positive, when you multiply them, the answer is going to be positive. If both numbers are negative, when you multiply them, the answer is going to be positive. The negatives cancel out. So the example they gave here is 2 times 6, which would be 12. And the other example is negative 10 times negative 6, which will be 60. You just multiply the two, and these two negative symbols will come together to make a nice little addition symbol. The product of two positive integers is positive. You can use a pattern to find the sign of the product of two negative integers. Start with positive 2 times negative 3, which will be negative 6. And 1 times negative 3, which will be negative 3. Each product is 3 more than the previous product. This pattern can also be shown on a number line. So in relation to this is a little confusing. I'm assuming they're doing 2 times negative 3, 1 times negative 3, 0 times negative 3. Okay. So they're showing 2 times negative 3 here, which would be positive 6. No, sorry, negative 6. So we start at 0, negative 3, and a negative 3. We'd be at negative 6. 1 times negative 3, and we'll do this in a different color to highlight this. We'd start at 0, and it's just 1 negative 3 backwards. So it's negative 3. 0 times negative 3, we don't jump, so it's 0. Because anything times 0 is 0. Now, we have negative 1 times negative 3. This is where it gets a little confusing. It's a negative times a negative, so it'll end up with a positive, because we're not going to jump back negative, but the jumping forward and backwards kind of cancel out because of the fact that it is a negative and a negative. So an absence of a negative 3 would make it a positive 3. And the same thing with negative 2 times negative 3. We would actually just do 2 times 3 and jump it to 6. That was a little bit more confusing than I would have liked. I hope that made sense. But moving on. Examples. Find negative 11 times negative 9. Again, when you have two negatives, your answer is going to be positive. So we're just going to treat this as 11 times 9, which is 99. And that would be our answer. Now, find negative 4 squared. Anytime you see that little 2 on the top, that means we are going to multiply that number by itself that many times. Negative 4 squared means negative 4 times negative 4. And since we have two negatives, our answer is going to be a positive. So we're going to go ahead and ignore these negative symbols, and it'll just be 4 times 4, which will be 16. So negative 4 to the power of 2, or negative 4 squared, is negative 4 times negative 4, which is 16. Now this is where we're going to get a little bit of, it's going to be a little tricky because it's going to flip, flop, flip, flop. So we have negative 3 times negative 4 times negative 2. Now, based on the commutative property, the order in which we multiply does not matter. But remember, our rules about multiplying negatives and positives only deal with two numbers. When you have three numbers, it's going to be a little bit of a change. I'm going to rewrite the question this way so that we isolate every single one of our negatives. This is -3 times -4 times -2. Now, the order in which we multiply does not matter. So if I'm going to go straight across with 3 times 4, that'll be 12. Since both are negative, they're going to cancel out and become positive. So -3 times -4 will be 12. However, now I'm multiplying this positive number by a negative number. This will be 12 times -2. There is no more canceling out. This is a positive times a negative, so my answer will be negative. 12 times 2 will be 24. My answer to this problem is 24. Now, let's try this in a different manner. Because again, commutative property states the order in which we do this does not matter, but our answer will still be -24. If I do -4 times -2, I will have +8. Since both were negative, it cancels out. But now I'm going to multiply the -3 by 8. And because one's negative and one is positive, it will be a result in -24. Still the same answer. So that's where it gets a little tricky, because you have to do the step-by-step multiplication. And unfortunately, since there are 3 negatives, when you multiply 2 of them, will become positive. When you multiply that answer with the last negative, the answer will become negative. And it'll be even trickier when you mix positives and negatives together. Let's go to the got it's. -12 times -4. This is going to result in a positive answer. 12 times 4. Now, I know what 12 times 4 is off the top of my head, but for those of us that don't, maybe it's time for a little bit of a math practice. Setting up 12 times 4. Now, I know what 12 times 4 is because 12 is half of a day, and if there's 4 halves, that's 2 days, that'll be 48 hours. But if I didn't know that, 4 times 2 is 8, and 4 times 1 is 4. Because both were negative, -12 times -4, they cancel out and it becomes positive 48. -5 squared. Again, this is -5 times itself only twice, or multiplied by itself. So this is -5 times -5. -5 squared results in -5 times -5. The two negatives will cancel each other out. Our answer will be positive 25, since 5 times 5 is 25. And E. This is where we get into that associative property kind of example where we have 3 negatives. Our answer is going to be negative because we know we're going to flip-flop. One negative times another negative will make it positive, times the other negative, which will make it back to negative. Now, the order in which we want to multiply does not matter. So if it's easier for you to do 5 times 3 and then multiply that 7, or 7 times 3 then multiply it by 5, it doesn't matter. So let's write the question. -7 times -5 times -3. In this case, I like multiplying by 5s, so I think it'll be easier if I multiply the -7 and the -3 together. I know that 7 times 3 is 21, and that will leave it at positive 21 because of the fact that both are negatives. But now I need to multiply it by -5. My answer is going to become negative because it's a positive times a negative. I'm going to multiply this straight across. 5 times 1 is 5, and 5 times 2 is 10. My answer becomes -105. I'm going to erase this negative symbol that I left there earlier. So the answer to the -7 times -5 times -3 question is -105. OneNote can't sync your notes right now. We'll keep trying. Awesome. So we're going to go ahead and pause it here and see if we can sync that note. I apologize for that delay. Technical issues, but we got the page loaded up. We've got another example to end the video. A submersible is diving from the surface of the water at a rate of 90 feet per minute. What is the depth of the submersible after 7 minutes? Now, in light of recent events, let's hold off on the Titan jokes and let's go ahead and focus on the math. The submersible descends 90 feet per minute. After 7 minutes, the vessel will be at 7 times negative 90 because it's descending, it's going 90 feet underwater per minute. Or, when you multiply 7 times 90, one of them is negative, the answer will be negative. It is negative 630 feet. So they are 630 feet under sea level. The submersible will descend to 630 feet below the surface, which is what we came up with. Oh, that was just an example. They don't let us solve anything. Okay. Financial literacy. Mr. Simon's bank account deducts a $4 monthly maintenance fee from his savings account, which you should never, ever sign up for. Find a bank that does not charge you, because that is robbery. That's my soapbox for today. Okay. Write a multiplication expression to represent the maintenance fees for 1 year. Then find the product and explain its meaning. So, Mr. Simon's bank account deducts $4 monthly. This is where we need to go back to our previous knowledge. They want to know how much he's going to pay in a year. We need to know that there are 12 months in a year. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. So if he's going to get charged $4 every month, how much is he paying for maintenance fees in 1 year? And explain the meaning. Now, there's a technicality here. The $4 he's being deducted should be written as follows. Because remember, it's being deducted. It's how much he's being charged. So it's fair to say -4. If you wrote it just 4, that's fine because it's asking how much he's being charged. You're not going to say he's being charged negative X amount of money because a negative amount of money means he's getting rewarded that much, if that makes sense. So it doesn't matter if you put negative or positive here, but for the sake of the chapter, we're going to put negative. He's being charged $4. $4 is coming out of his account. There are 12 months in a year. Therefore, he's going to be losing a substantial amount of money. How much money is he being charged per year, or how much money is being taken out of his account per year? This is 4 times 12. 4 times 2 will be 8, and 4 times 1 will be 4. Therefore, he is being charged $48 per year, or you can put -48, to have a bank account. Which again, that's not right. You should not be paying to have a bank account. But that's it for today. We have one more lesson in the chapter, and then we are going to review for that test. And we're going to make sure that that test is not one of our drop scores for this year, because this is stuff we did in 6th grade. If you have any questions at all, the comment section is open. Just make sure you keep it appropriate. If you're in my class, you know how to contact me or get a hold of me. Teams, email, in class. As always, I'm Mr. P, and you guys know the drill by now. I'll catch you guys on the next one.